Hi everyone, my name is Aaron Pally and I'm one of the race directors for the Iceland Extreme Triathlon taking place this July just north of Reykjavik on the Snæfellsnes Peninsula to the north. Our company is called Extreme Endurance Events, E3, and the website is extremetries.com. Please subscribe to our YouTube channel to check out all the webinars on the different information for all of our events. This one specifically is about Iceland, but we also have Alaska Man, which takes place in June, and Hawaii, which is Aloha Man on the Big Island, and that takes place in December. So we're going to dive into the mandatory gear and our recommendations for Iceland right now. All you do is go up to where it says Iceland on the top menu and the drop down, of course, select mandatory gear. And I'm going to try and make this as short as possible. It's pretty cut and dry, but for the swim, it's going to be cold. So a full wetsuit, full meaning neck, wrists, ankles, and 5 mil we're going to stick with as far as the thickness. We will allow you, if you want, underneath to wear some type of a thermal vest or additional shorts if you want. And when I say additional, I mean there's neoprene versions of that that are thin that help warm you up underneath your suit as well. Some people do that, and then under that they also wear whether it's swim jammers or a tri-suit or whatever. So we're fairly open to you guys doing what you want and layering up. Just keep in mind that the more you wear, the harder it'll be to actually swim. Your flexibility is affected. And then also stuff like hoods, which are not mandatory, but if you wear a hood, keep in mind that that also affects your breathing and flexibility. So we'll start with the wetsuit. I would definitely say that the cost of a wetsuit, you get what you pay for. In my opinion, that doesn't mean that you need to go out and buy a $1,200 wetsuit. That's a little ridiculous. But I would definitely recommend that you spend a decent amount on one. I've owned everything from the bottom of the barrel, couple $100 wetsuit, all the way up to the most expensive, and I can say that both sides of that spectrum are a bit ridiculous. Finding something in the middle that's anywhere I've seen him $400, $500, $600. Finding that mid-range suit, that upper end suit that's not all the way to the top, is going to give you the flexibility of that suit while you swim, the comfort, the fit, and the warmth that you need. Now there are companies that make thermal wetsuits, and I've tried the thermal and I've tried the regular suits that aren't thermal, and I don't notice that big of a difference. That's not to say the thermal aren't good. They're good suits. But I didn't notice enough of a difference when I was wearing that versus a regular one where it justified the cost difference. So for me personally, I found that. Some of you, I urge to definitely check it out and judge for yourself. So you've got your wetsuit, and what else do you need on the swim? So mandatory is a neoprene swim cap, a skull cap. So we're going to give you a silicone souvenir cap. So it's not just a souvenir. It's also so that we can spot you in the water. It's going to be a fluorescent color. We're not sure exactly what type that's going to. I'm sorry about the pop-ups, guys, over on the right. I've been trying to shut them off, and it just won't let me. So anyway, the neoprene cap is meant for your warmth. The silicone cap we're going to give you to go over it for the race is so that we can spot you in the water, coming out of the water, going in, all of that stuff. So it's mandatory. You definitely need the neoprene one, and then you have to wear the silicone one we give you over top of it. Obviously, you need goggles. I think you'd be a damn fool to go into the water without goggles in an event like this, especially the cold water. You have to have them. What I would recommend that is not mandatory is that you have a number of different goggles. You have clear goggles, you have medium tint goggles, and then you have the darker ones as well. So that when you can see when the light hits just before we start, what will work best for you. You want to have the best day out there, the best swim you can, be comfortable and enjoy it. So give yourself every opportunity for success. Another mandatory item are booties or socks, whatever you want to call them, neoprene ones. Make sure they fit well. I'm a big fan of Orca's got a split toe one where your big toe is separate and then all your other toes are separated from that. That tended for me to stay put a lot better than the other ones that were just one uniformed toe box area. So judge for yourself. The main thing is get something that fits. If it just fits and it's comfortable, odds are when water hits it, it's going to get a little heavier and it's going to be a little too big. Something that feels really tight without being uncomfortably tight will probably fit just perfect in the water. So get it, test it out in water, swim a good distance with it, even if it's in the pool, and just test out to make sure it's not creating a ton of drag. It is going to give you a little more drag back there, and you are going to notice that. But if it fits really well and it stays tight, it shouldn't be too bad. And the advantage is you're not going to lose that warmth through the bottom of your feet, top of your head, and also when you go out and you get in, it's going to be rocky. It'll be slippery, it'll be rocky, and if you do not have those on, it's not going to feel good at all. May end your day pretty quick. So those are definitely mandatory as well. But gloves are not mandatory. They are allowed. The only time I would recommend gloves, obviously it's going to be cold. So it'll definitely help in some situations. But keep in mind that with the gloves, obviously they can't be webbed. And with the gloves, if they don't fit perfectly and they're loose at all on you, they're going to create drag and they will not keep you warm, not nearly as warm as you think they will. So they have to fit really well, they have to be comfortable, and they have to be well made so that they actually do their job. Otherwise, I would say go without the gloves and your hands will freeze. They'll be very, very numb and cold after about 5 to 10 minutes, and you'll be able to swim just fine, even though you don't think you will once they numb up. So, in that case, if you do go out there without gloves and they get numb, one thing I found at Norseman, I did not have gloves. And one thing I found is that I was actually warmer at Norseman without the gloves, even though my hands were freezing, and numb. I felt warmer during that than I did with gloves at Keltman. So, the thing I had to do at Norseman to keep my hands working because they were numb is I had to, swim with a fist a few times, just really open up my hand and close it and open and close it, just really making sure I could feel the fingers and feel the pull in that water. So just a little advice there. The last thing really on the swim that I can tell you is that using Vaseline or Aquaphor to form a barrier between the skin and the cold water does help. Even if it wears off before the swim's done, at least it helps acclimate you a little bit slower and a little more gradual is what I'm getting at, so it's not as much of a shock. There have been people that said there's no difference, it doesn't matter, it absorbs the water and it gets it right next to the skin. I haven't found proof of that. Even if that, it still helps. No matter what, it still is a more gradual coldness that's hitting you if you have that. So I would recommend it. It's definitely not mandatory, and I would say a majority do not do it, but it's just something I like to do. Going on to the bike. Helmets. One of the U.S. rules is the sticker inside the inspection sticker had to be U.S. compliant, and since this is not a U.S. race, even though we're from the U.S., the owners and the producers, doesn't matter. It's not sanctioned by USA Triathlon. So you do have to have an inspection sticker, but it can be from the US or your country of origin. We do not care as long as it has been inspected and there is a sticker inside and your helmet looks as though it's relatively new. It can't be a super old helmet because the foam does wear down over time, even if you don't crash. So as long as it looks like it's new enough, it has the inspection sticker, it buckles on you right, and it hasn't been in a wreck that we can tell, then you're good to go on the helmet. I have some examples of the reflective tops, but I'm going to skip that and come back and do the quick things. Now, a light, you have to have a white constant light on at all times on the front of your bike. The lumens, I would say, just don't go with the least amount. A mid-range to high lumens. Keep in mind, the higher you go, the more battery it needs. It'll run out quicker. For most of you, it's going to be at least a 5-hour bike. For a lot of you, it'll be 6-7 hours. And if that wind kicks up, everybody's going to be around 6-7 or more hours out there. So I would say a moderate lumen count on that with a nice big battery. Keep in mind that if it runs out, you are responsible for either charging it on the fly while it's on or replacing it with a new light whenever you stop for your support. Now, we understand if it were to run out and you hadn't gotten to your support yet or hadn't had a chance to change it, that's acceptable. But if that maintains over a long distance or we see it more than once, then that's a problem and it'll be a disqualification. So one thing that also pertains to the cell phones, you have to have your cell phone on you at all times. So people say, oh, well, just like the lights, the cell phones will run out of juice. They're probably not going to run out of juice on the bike, even though your light might. But what you can do in either instance is they have really cheap, 10, 15 bucks or less. They have external batteries that have a USB cord that can plug into your phone. It seems ridiculous, but it's really easy and quick. And one of those really cheap ones will at least charge your phone all the way up, or even charge a light. Now with the phone, it's easy. You plug the cord and the battery, wrap it all together, shove it in the pocket of a jersey, and you're good to go. With the light, it'll be a little more tricky. That's why I would definitely recommend getting one that lasts longer than 5 hours, or having two and swapping them out. But worst case scenario, if you didn't, you could always charge it with a battery. I don't know where you'd put the battery and all that, but you could rig it up. So there are possibilities in making that work. We don't want to hear excuses why that isn't going to happen. It is for your own safety. We have been doing this long enough to know that it does help. Now, in addition to the front white light, you have to have a rear blinking red light at all times. I do not recommend the rechargeable ones that plug in through USB and all that. They're great. They're bright. They're better than the other ones. The problem is so many times those don't last, or they don't hold a charge, or something goes wrong and they just don't work like you want them to. I would recommend the brightest battery, like replaceable battery. The watch batteries usually are the CR2s. I would recommend those over everything else. I used one for Norseman and for Keltman, but after Norseman, we had a trip over in Europe that we took. We were gone a week. We came back. I think it was almost 3 weeks later, I unpacked my bike and that thing was still blinking. I had left it on. So those definitely last. So the brightest red you can, the best battery life on those, and you should be good on that rear light. Mechanical supplies. Everyone carries a spare bag with them to change a tire and have some tools or whatever in it. When they go out on training rides, this is no different. I would have a couple canisters, a couple tubes, a lever or two, something to repair an actual hole in your tire versus just a tube. You can use a number of things for that. If you don't have an actual puncture kit, you can use, a dollar bill, a leaf, whatever on the inside to kind of line that off for some protection. But I would definitely say carry enough to change a couple flats. And then in the support car that you guys have to have, I would definitely say that you need I would put a bike pump in there, or a whole bunch of canisters just to be safe. I would put a whole bunch of tubes, maybe a couple extra actual tires in case you have a real bad gash on there or something. And then anything else you want for the mechanical part of your bike, maybe a toolbox with a bunch of tools. But I would carry a couple Allen wrenches that could take care of most of the adjustments on your bike, just so that you're safe and you can adjust the aero bars or the seat if it drops, or if your derailleur needs adjustment, whatever it is. Make sure you, on your own, without your support having to be called or be near you, can make those adjustments on the fly if you need to, and then carry more of the supplies if you want them, and more of the mechanical stuff in the car. Same goes with first aid. I'll skip down to that. It is mandatory that you carry some bandages, and I'd say some gauze on you. So something that if you get an abrasion or some type of really minor cut or something, you can dress that yourself in the field really quick and get back on your bike and get going. Obviously, if you're profusely bleeding or it's an extreme injury and the gauze or even a bandage or whatever isn't doing the trick, then the next step would be for your support to help you, and or go directly to us if you need us, and you can call us and we'll have medical come out. And extreme cases, obviously the 911, or I'm sorry, I don't know this, but whatever the direct number is, the equivalent of 911 in Iceland, and we'll have that for you. You would call that to get emergency out there right away. So we'll go over more of that, but just make sure, and there should be room in your spare bag to throw some extra bandages, things like that. So that's what I would do. And then just carry a more comprehensive first aid kit for maybe a little bit more serious stuff in your car. But again, anything actually serious, you're going to call us, and anything that's real bad, you'll call that immediate number. So let's go to, I already talked about cell phones. So the only thing left before we go back up to the reflective and high visibility tops would be hydration and nutrition. You need to be able to have a way to carry that on you. So for the beginning of the event, you're not going to be allowed to have support help you for a while. You should be able to at least make it an hour or two without needing your support. If you can't carry that on you, then you're using your support almost too much. We don't need cars stopping every, 5 miles, 10 miles. It should be, I would guess, a minimum of about 20 miles. We haven't really laid that out yet, but just common sense, guys, tells you that you're going to have a better race if you can maintain a bike speed. So you don't need to be stopping and doing bottle hand ups every 5 miles. It's ridiculous. So make sure that you have some type of system where you can carry multiple bottles or one big reservoir of whatever you're taking in. You can carry nutrition on the back pockets of your tri jersey or your cycling jersey, and you should be able to carry enough nutrition back there and hydration on your bike, whether it's a couple bottles behind your seat or one on your frame or one horizontally on your aero bars, or maybe all of the above. Obviously, the more you carry on you, the more resistance you're going to have in aerodynamics, and the heavier the bike will be. So you got to kind of find that mid ground there where you still have some good aerodynamics, you're still comfortable, you're still going fast, you don't have to stop all the time, but you're not overloaded to the point where you've got an extra like 10 pounds, 15 pounds on your bike in liquid. So just find that and do your best to be very strategic with it. But yeah, definitely make sure you're getting in the calories on that. So the last thing for the bike, another thing, whether you have a shield on your helmet and it's clear or it's some type of tinted shield that has some protection from the sun, you can have that built into the shield, or you can have sunglasses or just safety glasses, whatever you want, but you have to have some type of eyewear, something that protects your eyes, because with the wind out there and, it's a mountainous environment, there's definitely the possibility of things getting kicked up and whipped over at you or whatever, and we want your guys' eyes protected from that. So make sure you have some type of eyewear, eye protection, whatever that is, and we will check that as you leave T1. So, okay, so last thing, the high visibility tops and reflective stuff. So guys, real quick, here's the sticker, CPSC stickers. Again, they don't have to have the UP or the US before that for this event, since it's not a US race, but these are what they'll look like, the various versions of that. We're going to check for that to make sure your helmet has been inspected. So going on to the tops, I have a couple of versions here. So this one you see on the left is just a good example of what is bad and not acceptable. So if you come to us in your kit, your tri-suit, or you have the top and the shorts, or you just have this on as a windbreaker over top, you could see the red, the blue. It looks bright, right? Well, it's not. When you're on a bike and there's a car behind you or anybody else, you cannot see this. You'd be shocked at how bad this is for visibility. From the front and from behind when you're looking at it, it's just not good. Now, can you see it? Yes. Can you see it better than an all black or all dark kit? Yes, of course you can. But for the purposes of what we're trying to do with the high visibility top, this is not acceptable. Now, where this would be acceptable is if you had something like this, something bright colored in any regard, whether it was a top over another top or your main kit, and it was bright colored, it would only be acceptable if, let me show you what you can add to it to just skate by, would be these suspenders, because they're bright, they're reflective, and you have them on over a bright top. Could you have these suspenders on over an all black outfit? No, absolutely not. It would need to be a combination of something really bright and colorful that doesn't quite meet our standards, but it would as soon as you slapped on these suspenders. Okay? So if you don't want to worry about all that and you want your top that you have just to meet all the rules and requirements, but you don't want to spend any more money, you want to go cheap, you don't care about aerodynamics or comfort, you can actually go with the construction look, which is heavy, bulky, probably hot, and not aerodynamic at all. So there's those, or even the cheapest possible version, I think, and I've seen these for like $5. Those are people out directing traffic, usually have those in construction zones, but just know that that is going to be about as least aerodynamic as you can possibly get. Someone had those last year, or that had that last year at Alaska, and they were just flopping in the wind with that thing. But again, it's up to you. You've met the standards that we have if you get these, so I'm not going to complain. I'm just trying to give you some advice for a good, fast, comfortable ride. So going over those, let's go on to what is absolutely what we would love to see. So if you wear the following things, I really don't care what you have on underneath, as long as you keep this on for the entire ride. There's a pink version, and you'll notice pink, yellow, or what's called safety green, and then fluorescent orange are acceptable colors. They're neon, they're bright. Don't come to me with a medium or dark orange, dark blue, dark something like that and say, oh, well, it's orange, or, oh, it's yellow. No, you know exactly what I'm talking about, guys. I'm showing you examples. These are neon. They're bright fluorescent colors. Okay, they're high visibility. So there's a pink version, there's yellow, there's orange, and the common theme to these as well is there's reflective elements both on the front and on the back. So in Iceland, I can tell you it's same as Alaska. Hawaii obviously doesn't really pertain to what I'm about to say, but warmth might be an issue too. So I would look at possibly something that's long sleeve. If you don't do long sleeve and you do one of these short sleeve vests, that's fine. These are going to fit really well. You can see that these are made for cycling. So what I would at least recommend is that you have some arm warmers at least to take out there with you. If you have this vest on that you see here, any of these really, they're all sleeveless. You don't have to have bright colored arm warmers. I don't care at that point. If you have this vest on or any of these, you meet the requirements. So everything else that's exposed, like underneath like coming out from your arms or your shorts or any of that, I'm fine with that being dark because you have this bright reflective vest on. So I would say that if you're wearing a sleeveless vest like this, go with arm warmers or something underneath that's long and it'll keep you warm. So any of these I'm looking at now. Now this is a little bit less. It's kind of mesh material, but again, it's bright and it has the reflective elements on it, meets the requirements. Now these last two here are the bare minimum. They're almost the suspenders, but they're a little bit better than the suspenders. They're wider, they're brighter. They have a lot brighter areas to them. So those are acceptable as the sole thing you wear that's reflective and bright. Okay. Now down on the bottom, this is where we get a lot of the questions, things like this. So I'm going to say that this would be acceptable because a lot of people have something like this bright blue, but it looks like to me around the sleeves, and I'm assuming on the back, it's got reflective elements on it. If you had something like this, I couldn't find the back of it, guys, so that's why I'm saying that. If you had something like this, you turn it around and on the back, there's nothing that's reflective at all. And I'm not just talking about the little reflective band around the bottom. If it has reflective lines on the back, something like that, it's acceptable. If it doesn't, it's not acceptable. But as far as color goes, that's a bright blue. It's almost a neon blue. It's brighter than what you see here to the left that I said was unacceptable. I would probably let this skate. But keep in mind what we're trying to do, guys, is keep you safe. So why on earth would you want to do the bare minimum to keep yourself safe? Do not think that, oh, they're being ridiculous. I'll be fine. I'm going to do the bare minimum. No, we've done this. We've gone out and done X-Tris ourselves. We've put them on. We've seen close calls on stuff. We know what is expected and what we want of you to keep you safe. So don't do the bare minimum. Make sure that and the thing is, guys, you go out on training rides all the time. So if you spring for a little bit better, you spend a little more money on a really nice fitting, super bright, really reflective vest for cycling specific, you're going to be able to wear that out there. Okay. Outside of this race, it's not wasted money. So just think about it like that. So, I won't continue on. That's about it for the cycling side of it. So let's talk about the run. Same type of mentality on the run as far as hydration goes and nutrition. You need to be able to carry enough on you to get through the distance between water stops. So whether that's a fuel belt, whether it's a camelback, whatever that is, you need to carry enough nutrition and hydration so that you have no issues. I would think of it like this, though. Do not calculate how much you need based on the best possible scenario. Calculate it on if you walked most of it. I had an instance at Keltman where, I'm a good runner when I'm in shape, guys. And that mountain tore me up. I kicked butt getting to the mountain. I was flying. And at the end, when I came down off the mountain, I hadn't run in hours and hours and hours. So I actually ran pretty fast the last 10K going in too. But on the mountain for about, I think it was 10 miles there, I was suffering. My ego took a hit. It was nothing like I thought it was going to be. I was walking most of the time. My feet were killing me. But my point is, it took me, I think, 3 or 4 times longer than I thought it was going to take me. And I ran out of food up there. So make sure that you are calculating things out for the absolute worst case scenario in what you're doing. That way you don't run out, because if you miscalculate and you run out, you're obviously having a bad day already. You're obviously going slower than you thought, which is fine with us. But at the end of the day, if you're already at that point and then you run out, you won't make the end. So plan for the worst, hope for the best. We do have aid stations about every 10K on the run. Just make sure you carry enough and you have the means to keep it with you so that you can make it through. Cell phones, same as the bike. You got to have them charged at all times. You can always get an external battery and wrap it up, put it in a pocket, especially if you have a camelback with pockets. I've done it numerous times at a lot of different events, whether it's triathlon or running, where I've just slipped it in the pocket with the battery and it's charged and been on the whole time. So no excuses there, guys. your apparel, it's mandatory that you have a hat, gloves, socks, long sleeve, lightweight, water resistant jacket or base layer because of the possibility for bad weather. So all of that, I get people every year that are, oh my gosh, you're having us carry so much. It's heavy and it takes up a lot of room. I did something last year where I took every one of those items and I was able to squeeze it into a ball the size of my hand. So there is zero excuse for not having that stuff. I didn't say it had to be the thickest or the most thermal stuff out there. It can be thin. I don't recommend that it's the thinnest stuff out there because the point is to keep you warm if it gets really cold. But it doesn't also have to be like ski gloves and a ski hat that's like super thick and thermal. That will take up a lot of space, and I don't think you'll need that. So something kind of mid-range for running specifically, and it's going to stay relatively thin and do the job. And you can ball it up, put it inside of a bag, and it takes up no space at all. Basic first aid kit. I would take a little more than you had on the bike with you. I'm not talking about what was in the car. That was a little more comprehensive. I would take what you had on the bike. You can either take it out of the bike bag if you want, or you can have another kit set up that's similar. But I would put a little bit more in it because unless you fall off your bike, you're probably not going to have any abrasions or any cuts or anything like that to worry about. When you're on the run, there are numerous opportunities to trip, fall, do whatever. So I would have a little bit more in the way of quantity of those supplies, just to be safe. Whistle and a compass. Whistle, I don't care if it's a nice one, a cheap one, whatever it is, as long as when you blow into it, it is loud and annoying. And we can hear you, your support can hear you, emergencies, whatever it is that you need it for, we can identify where you're at. There's no real spots on the mountain where I think anyone would fall off like into a crevice or anything like that. It's a road that you're running on the entire time. But if you were happen off that road somehow and you got trapped somewhere and we couldn't see you, but you were blowing on the whistle, we would hear that hopefully, and we would be able to find you. So stuff like that. I mean, it's super extreme and probably pretty rare that it would happen, but we want to make sure you're prepared. The compass side of it, you can carry an actual physical separate compass from your phone. Most of you guys, since you're going to have your phone on you and charged, that's mandatory. The compass is there in your phone. Just download the app so you have it. Reception's pretty good out in Iceland, so I would just do it that way, but you're more than welcome to carry a separate compass with you if you want. So on the run, I would definitely recommend trail shoes. Almost the entire thing's on dirt, with the exception of maybe 2 miles in the beginning and at the end, a mile each way maybe. The rest of it is dirt. It is a road. It isn't, I mean, technically there's rocks everywhere, there's dirt, but it is, a well-packed, runnable road. So technically, could you do it without trail shoes? Yes. If you hate trail shoes more than anything and you want to wear regular shoes, by all means, have at it. But I would say that where that's going to be an issue is less on the climbing, although you may lose some footing. It may be a little slippery out there. Not ice like slippery, but if you slip just a little bit on every step over the entire marathon, going up and over and coming back, that is a lot of extra energy and strength, and it all adds up. So get the traction that you can. I would recommend trail shoes. If you don't like them, then get a pair that isn't as stiff, that doesn't have as much traction and is more like a normal shoe, but it's a little better. That's what I would recommend. The only other thing I could say would be poles. I can't see a reason for running with poles. Alaska, I don't necessarily say they're the best thing to have there, but it's so steep and so rocky in areas in Alaska where having the poles, especially coming down, could alleviate a lot of pressure on your quads and give you some better footing and just be a little safer. But in Iceland, it's one massive climb up, then big descend down, then another climb up and a big descend down. So it's not as big of the angle, the grade isn't as big, and it's more of it's not a paved road, but it's a travelable road for motor vehicles. So you can imagine that, running shouldn't be that big a problem. It's not super ridiculously steep. It's not like 20 to 25% grade. So I think that running without poles would be fine. If you love poles, you think they help you no matter what, then by all means bring them. But if you're going to do that, I would recommend doing a carbon set of poles and making sure they're retractable so that if you don't want them, they're easy to carry when you're running. So that is, the other thing that I forgot in some of the other webinars that I'm doing here is actually toilet paper. It's huge because most of the time you're not going to be around a bathroom. Nature is going to be your toilet, with respect. And I would say that you need to make sure you have some toilet paper. I would carry some in the car. I would have some on me on the bike, wrapped in put in a plastic bag because you'll be sweating or it'll be wet, and that'll be real messy if it's not in a plastic bag. And I would do the same thing on the run. I would take maybe even like half a roll and put it inside the Camelback bag or whatever you have, or at the very least a big wad of it and put it in a plastic bag, like I said for the bike. Do that on the run as well. So just make sure you've got toilet paper because you will likely need it, most of you. So that is about it. I'm sure I missed something, guys, along the way. Feel free to post to the group, ask for recommendations and all that. And there's lots of people that have done X tries, whether it's Alaska or obviously they haven't done the one in Iceland or Hawaii yet. It's our first year, but there's plenty that have done other ones overseas and stuff like that. So they can offer some advice for various upgrades to what I've talked about or even things I haven't even mentioned. So feel free, guys, to ask any questions. And look, one thing I wanted to mention, the mandatory gear for the run and the bike, I do not have on here that it's mandatory for eye protection, but it is. And I will add that. So make sure you have protection for your eyes on both the bike and the run. And I will tell you, especially on the run, we were on the top of the mountain last year and there was so much dust and dirt being whipped around. It wasn't really even like clouds of it, so it wouldn't have affected my breathing, but it was this just little pieces of gravel that you couldn't even see. They were hitting you because it was so windy up there. We could barely open the car doors. We were being blown around. No joke. Just standing there, we were almost being blown to the side. So I think that might actually be kind of fun to run in because it's a once in a lifetime thing for as windy as it was. But I would even go as far as to say, and no, and this is really no joke, I would think about carrying ski goggles because for as much as that wind was whipping around and the gravel was coming up, for as much as that was happening, glasses would be great. Even the ones that are more like masks would be good, but there's still space between your skin and an opening at the top and the bottom that can get in and on the sides. But if you have ski goggles on, super comfortable. They even can be a little bit of warmth around your face and your eyes, but there is no way anything's getting in at that point. So maybe you look ridiculous and wear them the whole time and make for some cool photos, or maybe you just wear them if the wind kicks up on the top and you put them in your bag, but you have a regular pair of sunglasses. The other thing is my sunglasses blew off my face 2 or 3 times while I was out and I wasn't even running. So if you don't want to wear the goggles, I would think twice because you may lose those glasses. They may get scratched up, but those goggles are not coming off your face. I would also bring a Ultra Band with me. And so an Ultra Band, let's see, looks like this, guys. This is an example on Head Sweat's website. You can order from them. I'm just showing you what it looks like. Ours on our site that we sell is a race branded one. It's really nice. It's a cool thing to have, so I definitely recommend it. I hope you guys purchase that. But it's just a square or a rectangle on there. It doesn't show you, like, when it's bunched up, this is what it looks like. And it goes over your head just like a shirt would. And you can wear it. You can bunch it up, wear it as a headband. You can put it around your neck, just to wear there, catch sweat or for warmth or whatever, like a scarf. Or you can put it up around your mouth and nose if it gets real dusty and it's hard to breathe. It protects you from inhaling all that stuff. So that could be another thing if the wind gets real strong out there, guys. So I would look at that. Real quick before I go, just to show you, we don't have a wetsuit sponsor at the moment. So to be fair, Roka, Blue 70, Hoob, DeSoto, they all make great wetsuits. I'm just going to show you Roka's real quick. So any of these wetsuits will do. You realize this one's sleeveless, so that is definitely not allowed. Way too cold for that in our event. But most of their wetsuits here, again, I would say that, Roka's bottom of the line, bottom of the barrel wetsuit is probably going to be better than a lot of companies' bottom wetsuits. But I would still buy a better one that's a little more money. I'd spring for it, guys. And then going over to Blue 70, I think it's under accessories here. Give it 1 second. So under accessories, and Roka doesn't have all of this. They have the skull cap, the neoprene cap, but they show the gloves and the booties and all that. One thing I'll say is that I have a big head, long face, and so the non-Velcro neoprene caps don't work for me. They choke me. I know there's a couple versions of the cap out there that have Velcro, and they're a lot better for me personally. But if you don't have a big head, a long head, then you're fine probably with the non-Velcro versions. So that's about it, guys. For our race in Hawaii, I recommend this light up vest for running at night. But for Alaska and Iceland, you guys aren't going to be running at night. It's that time of year, it's light like all the time, all the way through. So that's about it, guys. That's all I've got. So thanks for tuning in. Look at our other races, check out our website, ask questions on the Facebook group, email us, whatever. And don't forget to subscribe to our channel. Thanks a lot. Have a good one.